Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. We are talking today about downsizing after a divorce, making space for a new chapter. Oftentimes when we're talking about downsizing, it is maybe due to retirement or changes later in life, health concerns or loss of a spouse, or just making things more manageable. But divorce is another transition time when downsizing often happens. So I'm Heather Fisher.
I'm Jody Roscoe.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. Some tips around it, some ways to really get through it. Your stuff, your space, where you're going to go, all of those things from the angle of a different time in life when people may be making a downsizing move.
Yeah, and divorce is just tough. It's just, it's hard all the way around. It's hard on both parties, no matter who feels like they're at fault or not at fault or whatever is going on. That change is tough, and sometimes it's really volatile a little, and so we've had a lot of clients that people sell their houses for all kinds of reasons, and some of them are happy and some of them are not as happy. And so trying to deal with it with as little emotion as possible, I think, just trying to put aside some of that and just be realistic about what's going on, and what is it you're going to need to take, and what is that going to look like. And there's just a lot of emotion around it. It's such high emotion.
Yeah, whether it's something that had maybe been coming for a while, or whether it was something sudden out of the blue, it's always unexpected because it's not what you expect when you get married.
Right.
That
Nobody
it's
gets
coming.
married to get divorced.
Yeah, so it's always to some degree fast or slow, unexpected. And so it's another time when you're mixing a transition that's big, a move, with emotions that are big.
Right.
And those two, finding the way to get through them, taking, some of the emotion and settling that down to get through the big decisions is where you come out better on the end, instead of letting emotion rule the day and rule your big decisions.
Yeah. And so all of the things that we talk about in downsizing, the steps really apply to this no matter how old you are, if that's what's happening in your life, because you're going to be a new you, right? And so that first part where we're going to be dreamy and really think about what's going to be next, that applies. What's your life going to look like, now? What's the next step going to look like without this other person? Where are you going to be able to live? How much stuff are you going to need for that? Are there kids involved? We need to, what does it all look like? But some thought process needs to go into it in the beginning of what are we going to do? What's it going to look like? What am I going to need for it?
Yeah, absolutely. Those 5 steps we go through, starting with strategizing, like Jody's talking about, just getting your mindset, even if it's difficult in the moment to even imagine this is happening to you, if you can just put a little bit of time into being dreamy that there are good things ahead, and what are those things that you want to go towards, that's step 1. And then step 2 of our plan is a strategy, and that comes along with that divorce process. You're dividing things financially. You're coming to agreements, that are official in paperwork. You're making that strategy of where is each person going next, where are the kids going to land, where, who's taking what. All of that is part of that strategy step. And then we move on through the final 3 steps are more getting yourself settled into that plan, moving through your belongings, choosing your next place to live, and then getting settled and living that next phase in life in a great way because you've made good choices.
Yeah, I think in any of the times of my life when things are really, really hard, and this isn't easy, but I think the thing to think about is not forever. Wherever I am right now is not a forever thing. And you're going to be able to get through it. And how you get through it will set you up for whatever is next and how long it takes to get through it, honestly. But there are highs and lows in our lives, and nothing lasts forever. Like I don't know how else to say that, but that's because I think a lot of times when we're dealing with people who are in a divorce situation, they're just so in it that it's hard for them to see to the future and be dreamy or think about any of that. But just realize it is finite.
Yeah, I think that change is hard for all of us in any way that it's hitting us. When you go through a change, it's hard. And the easiest way to get through it is to realize that once you're through it, it can be so much better, and you have space to make choices on what those next phases look like. But in a divorce situation, it's similar to other times we've talked about when you're up against maybe a health diagnosis or, the loss of somebody important to you. When you're in that and that's causing your downsizing, it is due to circumstances happening to you, and you have less choices in that moment. So it feels harder. And we can't say enough. We understand. I mean, I've been through divorce myself. We've helped many clients through it. It is tough, but there's so much exciting things left in your life after that. You just need to move through it and get through those steps. So first step, mindset. Of course.
Yeah. And the house it's not just a house. We get that too, right? That's, where your family memories are. And that can be a really tough discussion with, through the divorce of who is somebody keeping the house or not and all of that stuff. But if that's a question that you're grappling with of do we keep the house, do we not keep the house financially or not, either way. But is the house helping you heal, right? Is staying there going to be good for you and your family, or is it not? And I sometimes don't think people ask themselves that question. They're just like, oh, this is what I know and this is what I should do. And sometimes you might need a fresh start.
Yeah, I think we ask this question or talk about this a lot when people try to recreate their home exactly as it was in a new space. Doesn't leave them a lot of freedom to enjoy the new space. And that can happen through a divorce, whether you're staying in the same house and one person is leaving, or whether you are moving to a new space. It's okay to leave some room for traditions to reinvent themselves in new ways, or rooms to reinvent themselves in new ways. You're not always stuck with empty spaces where things once were, or trying to replicate exactly how things were and pretend that things aren't different. Sometimes it's better to just embrace
the different
and find how that's better.
So are you holding on to the house because it feels safe, or because you just haven't imagined an alternative? And that's either making the house your own, in that way, or getting a new one, right?
Yeah.
Right. But try to spend some time imagining the alternative and then decide where you want to go from there, right?
Yeah, be dreamy about that for sure.
Our environment plays a big role in our healing, honestly. And if you can't feel like you can move on forward in your life staying in that house, then maybe that's not what you should be doing. You want to you want to move forward and move on, because if you're getting divorced, it's because you're not happy and you've made that big decision to do something to make yourself be happy. So then go do that for sure.
It's such a time where you're going through a lot of emotion and a lot of things pressing on your time and your energy levels, especially if you have kids involved. You're trying to keep things, on the same normal for them, their new normal, whatever you want to say about that. You're expending that energy, but definitely leave that space for yourself to, decide what that looks like. One category where, some of the decisions are made for you and you might not love them, but splitting up your possessions.
Yeah.
Sometimes there might be, things that go to the other person that you feel like you really, they were part of your life, but it's a great time where those items are going. Do you need to rebuy another one? Do you just not need it at all? Is it?
I think this is where that mental, I own it, it's mine, and I want to keep it. It just like amplifies,
Yeah.
I feel like, during divorce. And it's like, well, even if it's something, I mean, we've just watched people fight over something that is neither one of them probably really even want,
Yeah.
So it's really not about the thing,
Yeah.
Yeah,
The emotion turns smaller things into bigger things for sure. But when you come out with an attitude of just looking forward instead of in the rearview mirror, you get to that next destination so much quicker.
right. So, I mean, a lot of it is probably like, if you were not in a divorce situation, is that something that you would really care about or want or need?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
take yourself out of the emotion of what's happening and whether they want it or you want it or whatever that is, and just try to be really objective about whether that's even something you would care about, except for the fact that they want it, so you must want it too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that happens sometimes too is that one person leaves the house and one person stays at the house, but you're tired in this instance. You're mentally exhausted, you're
Of course.
physically
Big
exhausted,
changes.
big changes. And what happens is the house never gets fully cleaned out. The person who moves out of the house takes what they want, but they're making a quicker move out, and they're not, because someone's staying, they don't have to take every last thing. So they take what's the most important things to them. The person who stays never takes that time period to go, oh, I'm going to go through the nooks and crannies and the deep corners of the closet. And there's so much in this house that I don't need. It was of interest to the other person, or, not mine.
Yeah.
And you could gain so much space and so much peace and so much if you can really dial down and go through the process of going through each drawer and closet and room and thinking, what is here for my new life and my new phase, and moving the rest of it out. You might gain, an extra room in your house you might to use for something that you want to. You might gain some extra closet space, all of that. But if you just, that surface amount of stuff leaves and you never go through, you just don't see it.
Well, and I think everyone feels like they've lost during it. And the person that leaves and takes the stuff that's important to them feels like, oh, they lost all that stuff that they left in the house, like it was a loss. And to be honest, they got the freshest fresh start.
Yeah.
They took the things that were important to them, and and then they can create the rest of their new life.
Yeah,
So
starting fresh.
So it's not a loss there. And the other person who is in the house, if they do the same thing and spend that time, they both can have that fresh start, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great time to maybe throw in some fresh paint or new throw pillows, things like that, and really make it just different in your own space.
Yeah. So stuff is one thing. You have the stuff and you're going to have to split it up, and somebody gets the shovel and somebody gets the rake and all the things, right? Financially, though, we also see that divorce is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's expensive, and the more that you kind of can't come to an agreement with each other, the longer it takes, the more expensive it can be. But also, you're having your income often.
Yeah.
And so now everybody has to live on less. Having two households with two households worth of stuff is obviously more expensive than having one.
Yeah.
And so what is that going to look like? Selling your house, maybe you have lots of equity in it. You guys can share that equity. Both of you can take, the equity and go buy something else. And, that's a great plan at the moment because we have gained tons of equity in our houses over the last 5 years. Maybe that can, maybe not. Maybe it's like, hey, no, I've got to go rent and I've got to kind of regroup and figure out what my life is going to look like. And so we're going to go rent somewhere and, see what our life looks like in a year or maybe two. So, so think about what that could look like financially, what that's going to look like. Go research some different things, whether it's housing, talk to a mortgage person to figure out what you can afford housing wise and what that would look like out on the market. Have a realtor show you houses. We're happy to do that if you're in the Dayton area. If not, we can find you a great agent. Just reach out to us at downsizingroadmap.com and kind of see what's out there. And you can also look at apartments and see what's out there. Again, it's the same thought process as if you're downsizing for retirement and you're looking at different options. Look at all the options and figure out what is going to work best for you, both in the short term and in the long term. And is whatever you're choosing sustainable for the long term, right? I mean, sometimes people get they are in a place where they're like, I just need to leave like quickly. And they may put themselves into a position of a place that's expensive because that's what, the first place they come to. And it's just, I have to, getting out is the most important thing, right? Yeah. So think about, sustainably long term, is that going to be okay? If somebody wants to keep the house, are they going to be able to keep it? Can they refinance it? There's lots of questions about that, and we have people who can answer those questions. So
there's a lot of math in there on staying. Can you handle managing the house and inside and outside all by yourself, or are you going to have to hire services when you've lost a second person helping with that? Just the upkeep and home maintenance. A lot of times the initial gut reaction for one person is I'm keeping the house. I want to stay the same, but really go back to that dreaminess. And does that leave room outside of, keeping that same to live life, to take a vacation that you might want to take, or to, do hobbies that you might want to take, and just really map that out on paper. Does that math all work?
I mean, financially, do you own the house or does the house own you?
Yeah, and that's the best way to put it.
And then also, upkeep wise, like, is that something that you can upkeep without your partner? Is that something that is interesting to you to be, doing all of the, whether that's landscaping or maintenance or whatever that is that needs to happen with the house and the cost of what it costs to keep a house up. So, you want to make sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And then emotional fatigue. Okay, divorce is just so emotional on so many levels. And so then making decisions on stuff feels just monumental sometimes, even on small things. That decision fatigue is a real thing.
Yeah, we did that whole episode on decision fatigue, and in ideal circumstances, it's a thing and it's exhausting and you can only do so much in a day, but it is multiplied, 10 times when you're dealing with emotions from any type of a crisis, and divorce would be right in there on that list. When you're already emotionally drained, the decision fatigue, kicks in much faster, and you're just much more tired from it all.
Yeah. So give yourself a break on that. But also, again, parameters help make decisions easier. And so put some parameters on whatever that looks like. I'm going to do this in a week or 2 weeks. I'm going to figure out what my best housing, or I'm going to talk to a mortgage person, or whatever it is that you're going to do. Give yourself a time frame to do it in. And same with, I'm going to walk into this room and I'm going to, decide what needs to happen here.
Yeah,
in a few hours.
We've said it before, skipping step 1 of our 5 steps is the the biggest mistake that we see people make. And I think it's especially true here. If you're being reactive to everything happening to you, and it's a new thing every day and a new little bump that keeps hitting you every day, if you're just waiting for those rocks to fly in and reacting to them, you're not choosing. And, be in the driver's seat and make those choices. Decide on what your dream, even if it seems impossible at the moment,
right.
Decide on what that next phase looks like in a dreamy sense. And then as every decision comes up, you have that parameter. Does this fit that life that I want? Yes or no?
Yeah.
It makes the decisions much easier.
It really does. So ask yourself, reclaiming kind of control, because divorce also makes you feel very out of control, right?
Yeah.
So how can you reclaim a little bit of that control? And some of that is, most of it is in that first dreamy part, where you're going to maybe even write a journal, but you're going to, envision what kind of space do you want to wake up in now? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's your chance to define your own taste, your style, your preferences. You don't have to compromise right now to, go get that paint color that the other person hated or didn't want, paint your room purple or pink, whatever you wanted.
Right.
You have that freedom.
Right. Is it a condo? Is it a townhome, condo? Is it a little ranch that you want to be in? Is there a certain school district that you need to stay in?
Total new location.
Right. Do you want to move somewhere else? You could get a duplex and live on one side and have the other side help pay for it if financial concerns. There are so many options. So if that's something you're thinking about, reach out to a realtor that can help you, and we can help you find that person.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of want to visualize again, what it is, and it's in your mind. It's going to be a peaceful place. Right? It's going to be a place that feels safe and comfortable for you. And what does that look like?
Yeah, exactly. Another way to look at it is thinking about what you're excited not to deal with anymore. If you make that move to something different, are you excited to not have that house to maintain, or the yard work that came along with it, or reminders of conflict? I know that can be a big one for a lot of people, that just there's not enough they can do to the space to not have it still remind them of conflicts or just a phase in life that was so hurtful, sadness or any of the emotions that come along with that. And
if you aren't able to get over those, then I think a new space is really what you need to be able to have your future be what you need it to be.
Yeah.
And so what else? Is it close to your friends? Is it close to your family? Like what else do you need to think about when you're visualizing it all and journaling it and kind of figuring out what you want? Because it's a whole new chapter, right?
Yeah.
It can be anything you want it to be, even if that feels totally unrealistic.
Yeah. And scary, honestly.
Yeah.
It can feel scary in that moment because it's different. It's change.
Yeah. And so you may know people who have already been divorced and they're, farther down the road and have, met someone else or have created a life that is just, amazing. And just think about who they are and who you could be. Again, it's not permanently stuck in this place that you're in right now. You just need to take the steps to walk forward through it.
Absolutely. So breaking down the housing options, we've talked a little bit about that, but looking for something that really supports your new life. A condo or a townhouse often have low maintenance, maybe more of a community feel where you could grow your social life a little bit easier. Maybe that single level living, if this is a divorce later in life, maybe that puts you on that path for down the line. A smaller single family ranch might still feel more independent but more manageable.
And you might need that if you need a specific school district that you need to stay in, that, that's what you can afford in that area. It just depends on on what that all looks like financially for you too.
Yeah, for sure. Apartment or a lease option, that, if you're just struggling to nail down that dream or that strategy, it can be an option temporarily to just let things settle and finalize and get through that. So we often see that transition year-long lease after someone is going through this and everything's getting final. But I guess our word of caution would be still nail down on that strategy for that future and use that as planning time to get through that year, and then be ready to take those steps to what that next dream place is, and not just stay there longer than you want to because you haven't, dreamt about what could be different.
Because in the end, you want somewhere where you walk through the door and you feel relief. You feel like,
Yeah.
I'm home and this feels safe and comfortable and warm and happy. And that's what you're looking for. So for you, what does that look like?
Yeah, we have a quote here from Peter Walsh. Your home should be the antidote to stress, not the cause of it. So in all of this transition, you're looking for, that feeling of peace from what you've kept to surround yourself with and what that space feels like when you walk into it. And I think there's so much peace and good emotions found when you've chosen it for yourself and you've done it with intention.
Yeah.
And not just carried on in how things were, but different.
Well, and like exactly what you said, for yourself. So because most people, if we get to the root of divorce, is that they aren't happy and they need to choose something different. But then somehow when they get through it, they start making it about the other person and what they're doing and what, and they stop focusing on just themselves and their future and how they want that to be different. And I get it that it's an easy trap to fall into, but try, because it will get you further faster if you're really just focusing on you and your future and what that's going to look like, and not what they're doing or saying or any of those things.
Yeah. There's things that feel like you should be able to control and you just will never be able to. So let that go. Let the emotion around it go and put your eyes straight ahead and just go. It'll be better, I promise.
We realize what we're saying is easier said than done, but
yes,
you've been through it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in hindsight, you learn lessons, right? And so I think that is one of them that you can share with others, and hopefully they can get that.
Yeah. I feel strongly on that. Yeah. Put your eyes forward and choose your next phase. Yeah.
So some practical next step tips, right? Getting financial clarity. You probably need to talk to a financial advisor, a divorce attorney. There are some people that you probably need to talk to, mortgage person. Let them know that you're getting divorced, because when you are going to buy a house and you're getting divorced, whether you're divorced or you're not divorced matters. What you can call your income matters. There's all kinds of things around what that looks like. And so you want to make sure that you're getting good advice. You don't want to get into a place where you've, put an offer in on a house and realize, oh, that's not going to work because we need to be fully divorced, or I can't count my alimony yet, or, whatever it is that's going on. You just want to make sure if you take those steps forward, those steps are going to be successful.
Yeah, or just gaining knowledge as to when you could or should take those steps.
Right.
Get that timeline nailed down so you know when to start looking, when to sign a lease for, when, whether or not you're going to need to renew that lease, and all of those can be part of that bigger strategy.
So declutter with purpose, right? So if it's something that is is coming or has started to come, but you're not, it's going to be a little bit of a slower process. Start that decluttering as if you weren't getting divorced. We all need to declutter our houses, right? Yeah. We all have things that we don't need. So what's worth taking into your next life? What feels like it belongs to the past? And just start letting go of some of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we've said, pull in, us, go to our website. We can connect you with someone local if you just are unsure of what that financial strategy around where you're living would work best, short-term and long-term. There's some house hacks for short-term solutions. You could, purchase a duplex and live on one side and rent the other. I know of people that have stayed in the house they were in for a little bit, but brought in a roommate or someone else, rented out part of the house to get some of that cost covered. There's lots of things you can, use resources to come up with that best strategy to get to the other side.
Yep, and then talk to a real estate agent. Like I said, we can help you if you're in the Dayton area or northern Cincinnati, or we can find somebody that would be great. And we have worked with a lot of people who are in this position, and so I think you just need somebody who's going to be neutral as a real estate agent, who's going to be neutral, whose goal is going to be to get you where you need to go and where you're saying you want to go, and make sure that you can get there. Because moving forward is the most important thing, and not get mired in anything, that's happening. Just, this is our goal and we're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been, a joy, honestly, to help some of our clients get through that phase and just do it as easily as possible and just get them ready for that next step.
And watch their lives develop. We've done this a long time. So, we've watched their lives develop forward after that. And that's also fun, to watch.
Yeah, lots of great things going on.
Yeah. Good things can come after bad things. I guess that's what we're trying to say is, we know if you're in the midst of it, there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of fear and a lot of anger, probably, a lot of emotions. So.
Yeah, and if you can work through those emotions, it really is about a new beginning, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed, but it'll be okay. You're capable of creating a life that you choose, and that will be, a wonderful place to live.
Yep. So hopefully you take our advice, spend a little time being dreamy, even though that feels a little crazy, and find your path quickly.
Yeah, and if we
Sooner
can help
than later.
if we can help with anything, please reach out to us on our website, downsizingroadmap.com, and we will be back next time with some more tips for everybody.
Have a good one.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.